Women have the power to transform this world. We can end crime and violence if we all agree to do one thing: share. Let's share our wisdom, share our time, share our talents, share our finances, but most of all, let's share our love. This is the Female Solution.
Welcome, welcome, everyone. This is Monday Morning Mindfulness, and I am April Gary. I am guest starring for Zelda Robinson today. She'll be back again next week, and we already miss you, Zelda. So hope you'll be back next week. And today we have a topic, and that is the 7 chakras. That's the energy centers of the body. I'm April Gary, and I'll share with you some really good information. We've got a lot going on in the world and in the cosmos right now. Everybody's been talking about the Lion's Gate, right? And how that ties to the 7 chakras or the energy centers of the body. I want to talk about that today. So welcome, welcome. I hope everyone's having a good morning. Let's just take a deep breath for a second. Now, I love that part of Zelda's show where she does the breathing, right? So I've got to add a little bit of that in her just for Zelda, right? Deep breath in. All right, letting in the good stuff and then breathing out. Ashe, she's like the best meditation person. And so we've got that for you, Zelda. We're following that script for you, being calm and peaceful today. And then we're going to talk about how these 7 seals are a part of our lives every day, whether we know it or not. We'll tie in a little bit of that Lion's Gate part in as well. So to get started, right, the energy centers of our body, we have 7 of those. There's actually 13 when it comes to our bodies, Mother Earth, and how that goes into the cosmos. But we're going to focus on those 7. And so with that, these are these energy centers that are already in our bodies, those 7. It corresponds also to the 7 seals, the 7 seals that are mentioned in the Bible, even in Revelations. So we'll tie that together as well for my Bible-based people that are on the call. So that root chakra, let's talk about the root chakra for just a second. There's an energy center that's right there at the base of your spine. That's called the root chakra. There's a theme to that. It's called the spiritual consciousness awakening area. And that area is so important because it's a space for shadow work, right? That's a space, an energy space where issues, right, like fear, insecurity, and instability, that's where it rests in that area. So did you know that all of our emotions and our behaviors actually are centered in our bodies? And when we talk about, let's go within, let's meditate, let's improve ourselves, we can actually drill that down to certain energy centers that are within our body. The root chakra being that lowest one. Again, that's in the base of your spine. This is about spiritual consciousness and awakening. And this is where fears sit. We have fear, insecurity, instability. And so here, just in society now, we know that there's a lot, of fear that's going on right now, right? A lot of insecurity, instability when it comes to even politics, family, society. It's pumped even in the radio, media, it's even celebrated, scary movies making you fear. This is affecting your root chakra. And what it does is it causes issues even with your body because each one of the chakras have, a corresponding gland, corresponding emotion, and a corresponding issue or physical problem that's related to that. And we'll get involved with that in just a moment. We'll talk about that a little bit more too. Now let's talk about, though, the spiritual lesson. Again, we're starting from the first chakra. That's the root chakra. It's located at the base of your spine. The spiritual lesson for that is establishing a firm spiritual foundation and discerning the motives behind power and ambition within us. Looking at ourselves real closely and seeing what's happening with me. A lot of inner child stuff is going on with our root chakra, okay? So when we say, I want to improve, I want to get spiritual, or even I want to get saved, right? What are we doing exactly? What are we looking at? We need to know how to get specific about this healing methodology, or understanding what exactly are we healing? What are we looking at here? Those are the energy centers. And they talk about that again in the Bible. That's the 7 seals. And it also ties to Jacob's ladder, climbing those steps, right? And you'll hear this kind of stuff in like mystery schools and alchemy studies. But I'm going to break it down to you in a structured way so you can understand how everyday living and changes in our life can help heal our emotions, and also can help us take care of our bodies better. So with that, I'm going to go with that root chakra for just a second and talk about that core life thing. Again, survival, safety, stability, right? And so imbalanced behaviors, again, would be fearfulness. This is anxieties. This is controlling behaviors. This is financially insecurities, right? Feeling disconnected, or even hoarding because we're afraid of losing things. And restlessness. Now that covers a lot of people, okay? A lot of us are dealing with these kinds of things. It's even normal, right? So some of our attitudes and beliefs about that is that feeling it's like, I'm not enough, or I don't belong, or I'm not safe, okay? And where in your body does it occur? Where does this stuff rest? How does it affect your body? Because all of these chakras now are related to physical parts of your body. We're talking about the feet, your legs, knees, your hips, your lower back, your colon area, right? Your adrenal glands is what this is tying to. Stress-related tension or that digestive concerns, you could have those things as well when your root chakra is not balanced. So there are sicknesses related to this. It's imperative, very important that we heal our root chakra and really be cognizant, aware of our internal issues. And we all have them. We all have them. You can't even be in this society or live today without having some sort of trauma that you had to go through, some kind of pain in your life, the stuff that you're working on, with yourself. And so with that, we're going to talk a little bit more about how that ties in. Still on this root chakra. We got a few more chakras to go. But we're going to see how that all ties in together, okay? How we can heal, what foods we can eat, and what we need to do to really go within. When we say, I'm going to go within and heal, what is that, right? That means we need to go within and take a look at what's happening inside, but really have structure and understanding and a plan behind it, okay? All right, so the 7 chakras, this is really key. And right now we're going to take, though, we've got to go on our little break. We must take a short break. We'll be right back, all right, with the Morning Mindfulness Show. This is Zelda's show, 7 Chakras, April Gary. Hold on, please.
Peace and love. I'm Michelle Renee, host of Education Nation, live on the Female Solution Global Network every second and fourth Sunday from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. The intention of Education Nation is to raise awareness about the literacy crisis and to offer information to combat the problem. The goal is to awaken an army of reading coaches and mentors. You will experience guests who are doing their part in the community to ensure youth in their circles are reading and thinking critically. I look forward to serving you in this capacity. Literacy is freedom, and Education Nation will offer information and strategies to help ensure our young people stay free.
All right, all right. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to the Monday Morning Mindfulness. Yes, I'm April Gary, and I'm guest starring for Zelda Robinson. She'll be back next week. Our topic today is the seven chakras, the energy centers of our bodies, and I am again April Gary. We're talking about the seven centers of the body. That's the seven chakras or the seven seals, as they mention, in the Bible. And let's dig in a little bit further just on that seven chakras, just the seals themselves, right, and what that's about. So the seven energetic seals, right? That's the planetary energy centers of the body. I did say planetary. That means they're aligned with the planets, right? So we have the moon that affect us, the sun. We have Venus, Jupiter, Mars, and all these different planetary systems that actually affect our bodies. It's so important that we understand the connection of it all. That's us and how we relate to the heavens. The heavens are there for, a reason. The planets are there for a reason, and they affect us, okay? So the seven energy seals, they're also called the seals of the planets or the furnaces of the soul. So this is where the life force, that's the prana or the ki or the kundalini, if you're familiar with martial arts, right? Or some of the Chinese medicine arts, you may know more about that. But it flows through the human body and it passes the individual points within your body, okay? And it represents and it governs a certain area of the body. Those are the chakras, okay? And it also governs the human experience on the spiritual and mental plane. Now, this is why when we meditate, this is why when we hum, sing, or do deep breathing, we feel better because we're trying to balance those chakras in our bodies, right? We're trying to heal. It's so important that we just get quiet sometimes, that we just sit, listen to the voice of God, and breathe deeply, especially when we're trying to heal, find some peace of mind. Now, how does that work? This whole meditation piece, right? This whole idea of getting quiet and peaceful and centering yourself, that is, centering your chakras. How does it work? Well, we have what you call the vagus nerve, and it runs from the brain through the chest and your abdomen. It's particularly sensitive to vibrations and sound. All right, my meditation people, you know that everything is about frequency and vibration, right? So it serves as a physiological bridge for those seven chakras I mentioned. It acts as a great communicator that translates spiritual energy into bodily sensations, emotional regulation, and the nervous system balance. So, this vagus nerve is a big deal. So, with that vagus nerve, right, and understanding how that energy flows, that Kundalini flows, we have seven of those with specific things they do. And that takes me back to the root chakra. Let's talk about that root chakra again because it's so important. And there's different things we can do to heal it, right? And another big part about that is that these are behaviors and beliefs that we may say every day that affects us, and we may not be thinking about it, how they affect us, because our words are so important, right? We may say things like, I don't belong here. I don't feel safe. And that just tells us there's some things we need to work on within ourselves when we say those things, right? We know that there is some pain, that there's some heartache, right? And it shows up, as I mentioned before, that it shows up as issues with our feet and our legs, with our adrenal glands. So we know that we need to work on those things. Let's talk about working on those things for a second. Working on those. When it comes to the root chakra, there's that spiritual lesson we talked about, establishing a good spiritual foundation, discerning the motives behind our power, ambition, because a lot of that comes from there. You know, we feel fearful because we may think we don't have enough or because we don't have what the Joneses have. We feel inadequate because we're comparing ourselves to someone else. because we don't know what our own destiny is, what our own purpose in life is, right? So we reach out for other things in other people's past, thinking it's ours. But it's important that we know our destiny and our purpose. Our personal reason for being here is so important, because if not, you're going to be fearful that you're going to lose something or you won't get anything that you think you should have. And it may not even be for you. We're all different. We all have our own journey. Let's talk a little bit about how healing modalities can help us, okay? So we're talking again about the root chakra. Do you know there's a color for that root chakra? The color for that is red. Again, this is the base of the spine, your legs and your feet. There's some foods that you can eat with that, right? So if we're talking about the root chakra, root foods are good for the root chakra. So we can pray, work on ourselves, but we can also use certain modalities to heal. Root chakras, root foods, beets. Beets are good for that. Radishes. And the potatoes, that's good. And also red foods like tomatoes and strawberries, raspberry, pomegranates. Those things are good for healing. Now we're eating with intent to heal ourselves, our inner child issues. So how about combining that with meditation and then choosing to eat this week red things or root foods so that we can work on those issues related to our root chakra. We may also want to add a couple other things. There's herbs we can use. Ashwagandha is good for that anxiety that happens in your root chakra. Dandelion root is good for that. We're talking again about the adrenal glands and the root chakra. You've got burdock root, that's good. Ginger and nettle, that's good as well. And you've got cedar and patchouli, that's also very good. So, looking at the root chakra, we just talked about a few things that we could do for that. And there's also some affirmations. Let's do an affirmation for the root chakra. Here's a good one that you could say today. Here's your affirmation. It is, I am safe. You can repeat that after me. I am safe. I am grounded. And I am supported. I am safe. I am grounded. And I am supported. Now you started your journey on healing your root chakra. All right, those are some good steps you've made. Let's take a look now at our next chakra. That next chakra is in your lower abdomen. And what's the name of that next chakra? Yeah, the sacral chakra. That's that sacral chakra in your lower abdomen. And what happens with that sacral chakra? What's the theme for that? You've got intuition, insight, you got discernment there. So with that, you got a couple other things with that third chakra. Let's go there for a moment. One moment. Okay, there we go. Let me make sure I've got the right one here. Root chakra. Thank you. Thanks for showing that that sign there. Okay, so sacral chakra, you got emotions, creativity, pleasure, and relationships. There we go. Thank you. All right, so emotions, creativity, pleasure, relationships, and let's talk about the balanced behaviors of this chakra, sacral chakra. You got creativity, emotionally expressive, adaptable, passionate, and healthy intimacy. All those things are happening with that sacral chakra. Okay, so that's the second one up, right? That lower abdomen area. Now, what happens when that sacral chakra is not balanced? You've got emotional suppression. You've got jealousies, guilt, codependency is here. That's a really big one. Codependency. You've got addictive tendencies are in that part of our bodies. That's where it rests. That's where it lies, is right there. And you've got lack of boundaries. You ever meet people who have no boundaries? They just walk all over you, you know? Or maybe you have some challenges with that, where you don't set your boundaries with people And maybe you get hurt a lot because of that. Your feelings get hurt because you don't set your boundaries, right? Emotional suppression, you just hold everything in until it explodes. And then it gets really ugly. Either you're calm and cool or you explode. And you need that middle ground in there somewhere. And you need to work on why that's happening, right? So some of the beliefs or ideas around that is, I don't deserve pleasure. I don't deserve good stuff, or my emotions are wrong. I shouldn't feel any kind of way. I'm only supposed to feel good and just think happy thoughts, you know. And the other one is, I must earn love from people. I don't deserve it. These are patterns that we've been given in our lives. It could be family, community, and it's definitely social media. And we have to learn to identify them and then heal from those patterns, right? So that we can become better people. So, what now are the common physical areas we're talking about here? These are the reproductive organs, sacral chakra, reproductive organs. We got that bladder, your kidneys, your lower abdomen, pelvis, right? um, Tension in your reproductive area, you'll have that as well. So these are where the sicknesses are, right? And this is directly related to your attitudes and behavior. And this is why we have to change our attitudes and behavior, because it'll make you sick in specific areas. This is why we have to let go and let God. This is why we need to meditate, right? Focus on the inner self, right? Quite often we think that the world is the problem. And if it wasn't for the world and people doing all these things to us, we wouldn't have issues. But really, it rests inside of you. We have to change our perspective, change how we work with ourselves, and then change how we work with others. Really focus in on those things that we have a habit of doing, without even thinking about it, you know. This is change, and this is what most of the gurus, spiritual people in the world have tried to help with, from Jesus to Buddha, the whatever religion you're in. It's always about us changing and making ourselves better people. So we've got to work on those things. That's the sacral chakra, right? And so with that, the next one we're going to do will be the solar plexus in just a moment, but we're going to cover those foods, crystals, herbs, and botanicals as well for that sacral chakra. Okay, so we've got for foods, that's oranges and mangoes, because the color is orange, right? And then we have peaches, apricots, and papayas, pumpkins, carrots, butternuts, squash, sweet oranges, and coconut. All right, now it's time for our break again. All right, we'll be right back with you. This is Morning Mindfulness. This is Zelda Show. Peace and blessings.
In which we're doing this documentary for, Douglas Robinson, Your Death Will Not Be in Vain.
He was a heck of a great dude.
And I love Doug. Doug loved me.
Just being around him, he had a good spirit. He was a healing person.
They are there.
Get SROs back.
When you give to the poor,
should not be forced out of their neighborhoods when it goes through a period of transformation.
because there are too many people who are losing their homes to taxes because they can't pay a $1,000 tax bill.
Have you seen all the solar farms popping up everywhere? You know, the big fields with the solar panels. There's one in our community. They produce electricity using the clean energy of the sun to send to the power grid to reduce our energy costs. Because not everybody can get solar panels put on their roof the way I have, but everybody can enroll for free to share the energy produced by the solar farms. That's why they were built. You know you're supposed to be getting a 10 to 20% savings on your bill for that, right? Illinois has a goal to transition by 2050 to 100% clean energy. So everybody needs to be connected. People in other communities are already getting their savings. So I'll be by to see you because they want to make sure you get your savings as well. It just takes a few minutes. I'm Naima Latif. Call me if you have any questions. 312-849-3456.
Yes, welcome, welcome. Welcome back. This is the Monday Morning Mindfulness, and I'm April Gary. I'm guest starring for Zelda Robinson, who's back next week. I want to give a heavenly shout out to her brother, Doug Robinson. Peace and blessings on the heavenly plane. Let's go ahead and talk more about that second chakra, right? We were talking about that second chakra, the sacral chakra, and we were talking about the foods. And I was getting hungry thinking about that. The color's orange, for the sacral chakra. So we were talking about oranges, mangoes, right? Peaches, apricots, papayas, pumpkins, carrots, butternut squash, coconuts, and there's crystals as well. So you can wear these things on your body. Again, they're tied to the planetary systems, and each one of the stones are associated with the planet. And the planets carry certain energies as well. This is why we put on stones on our bodies, right? They're pretty, of course, but they also carry a certain vibration or frequency. So for the sacral chakra, you have carnelian, right? You have sunstone, you have the moonstone, and a peach adventuring. That's a good one as well. Let's talk about the herbs that you can take. These are teas that you can drink. Calendula, there's one, right? And also medicine. Usually calendula you'll find it's in a medicine or ointment. You have cinnamon, you have damiana, hibiscus, orange peel, you have fennel, and then you have vanilla. So when we do these things, these are mindful practices of healing the sacral chakra. So there is structure and there's order behind this, and there is a science to it as well. And when we do that, we work on our balanced behaviors, creativity, being emotional, expressive, adaptability, passionate, and then healthy intimacy as well. All right, that's number 2. Number 3, let's look at our solar plexus. Solar plexus, what are we talking about here? Solar plexus, it governs the color yellow. So we're talking about the color yellow. This is the stomach, liver, and pancreas. And with that yellow, right, we've got certain colors that we can wear in foods as well. But before then, let's take a look at some of the imbalances that come with that. That solar plexus, that's your personal power. And this is your confidence, your purpose in life. All of that is centered, right, in your solar plexus. So there's actually a place within you, not just this is happening to me, like all over. There are specific places in your body that this kind of energy resides, either balanced or imbalanced. This is where your imbalanced behaviors like low self-esteem, like being a perfectionist, it resides there, like overdoing it, like everything has to be perfect. When we're human, we're in process. Everything changes, so we're not really perfect per se, right? There's that anger is there, shame, people pleasing. There you are in that sacral chakra, and then that excessive control excessive control, right? There in the chakra. So we can look at these specific behaviors again and know, I got to work on this stuff. I got some issues, because I'm always trying to have control over everything. I'm going too far. My friends tell me, girl, you're doing too much. You can't control everything. You're not God. You can't control it all. Sometimes you have to let go and let God, right? Heal that solar plexus chakra. Okay. So some of the attitudes and behaviors with that is I'm not enough. I have no power and I will fail. You'll hear those words come out of your mouth or the mouth of people who are dealing with that. So this is another way that we can see or even like diagnose, like there's an issue there. I see that in my friend. It looks like there's some sacral chakra work that has to be done. Let's get together and meditate. Let's get together and cook some food of intent that will heal our chakra. Okay. What areas are we talking about? This is the stomach, the liver, your pancreas, your gallbladder, digestive system, right? And this is where you'd have, stomach problems, a lot of stomach problems. Excuse me. And so our solar plexus now, this is so interesting how God, the universe, have created us in a way that we coincide with so many different things. Again, the planets, we coincide with the planet. These energy systems of our body coincide. So it's not just haphazard. And that's the beauty of it, is that it's not just haphazard. We just have to go back and relearn it. And this stuff is even in the Bible. It's kind of under a few things like 7 seals, right? And when we read it, we have to be able to decipher it, right? Because in the version that we have, right, is missing quite a few books. So we're looking at 66 books, and there was over 200 books, versions of, the original Bible. We're just using that as a reference. I know everybody on the call doesn't follow that. Perhaps you have a different persuasion, but I'm using that as a reference, right? So as 66 books are there, there's over 200. And the origins of that, right? When you open the Bible, it talks about, the Egyptian books of the dead and the Dead Sea Scrolls, But if you dig a little bit further, you'll find that these books actually came from the ancient books of the great mothers, the Sibyls, right? The prophetic writings of the ancient Black mothers that once ruled, right, all the empires of the world. So if you go deeper, you're going to find more, right? You'll find more information. You can broaden your perspective. And this is the foundation here, actually, of a lot of the different religions. But these things stand fast. They stand today. These symbols, these chakras that we're talking about, all these correlations, they all come together. So let's talk a little bit about that part, right? That we have that core life theme. We have limited attitudes and our beliefs about that. We know how it affects our particular parts of our body, right? We're talking now about that sacral chakra. Now, let's talk about the crystals for just a second, okay? And with that, we've got carnelian. We talked about orange, calcite. We talked about those. Let's go up. Actually, we're on the third chakra, the solar plexus. That's the citrine, the tiger's eye, the yellow jasper, the amber, the pyrite, right? Stomach, liver, and pancreas. That's yellow, right? And we have lemons, bananas, and pineapples. Yellow peppers, corn, turmeric, ginger. And then there's herbs that we can take. Chamomile, and that makes sense. We're talking about the stomach area. Chamomile always calms the stomach. Rosemary and lemongrass, right? Okay, so look at those correlations. Now we can actually heal ourselves and know what we're doing and how we're doing this, okay? Let's jump on over to the 4th chakra. That's the heart chakra, and the color is green. Sometimes it's pink. That's your heart, lungs, and your circulation. There's foods for it. Spinach, kale, broccoli, avocado, cucumbers, kiwi, green apple, sprouts. Imagine if you now ate with purpose to heal specific behaviors and issues that's going on with your body, and not just eating to be eating. And of course, staying away from fast food as much as possible, because it's not going to give you that healing that you need, right? The crystals, rose quartz, green aventurine, emeralds, jade. Now you're looking at these things in a different way, right? You're looking at these crystals that you may see in a different way and seeing that they're here. God put them here to help heal you. It's like a little piece of the planet in the palm of your hands that help to heal your body. You have hawthorn, rose, holy basil, and lavender. These things can help heal you as well. All right, so you've got those things that's going on with the heart chakra. But let's tie this now to some of the behaviors. Some of the behaviors with that heart chakra is love, compassion, forgiveness, right? That's the core life themes for that. Love, compassion, forgiveness. Thank you so much. All right. Love, compassion, forgiveness with that. And you see that self-love? See the Know Your Chakra chart? All right. So, what's some of the imbalanced behaviors with the heart chakra? What happens with that? Bitterness, this is where grief sits, right? If you got grief going on, it sits right in your heart chakra. That's where it is. The resentment as well, your isolation, your difficulty trusting, all your emotional withdrawal, that's where it is. If you were to pinpoint where you're hurting, you would say, oh man, my heart is hurt. But it's actually in that energy center, okay? And so some of the limiting behaviors and attitudes that you would have with that is like, I'm unlovable. Nobody loves me. Love is unsafe, and I cannot forgive. Okay? So, again, this covers most of society. We got a lot of work to do, right? We got a lot of work to do on ourselves. But now, excuse me, we know where we start the work. We know where to go and what to pinpoint. There's a process for this, there's structure to this, right? Okay, so the common physical areas affected, your heart. This is your lungs, right? Your upper back, your shoulders, your immune functions here, right? In that heart chakra, chronic tension in your chest, right? In your upper back, issues there, heart, all this stuff is radiating issues that are going on with you, okay? So if you have some heart problems, take a look at your behavior and see how it's affecting your body, okay? If you got issues now with your lungs, take a look at that and see emotionally what's happening with your body, because there's a correlation there to that. And it's important that we know that. So we covered that part, right? So let's take a look at for the heart, what do we want to do about that, right? We want to eat some specific foods that I just mentioned, the rose quartz. We got spinach and kale. And then we have also, right, our shadow parts that we want to work on as well. Let's look at the shadow parts for a second. Our shadow parts, again, is grief and emotional closure. And then our spiritual lesson for that is allowing awareness of life's impermanence to deepen our compassion rather than fear it. And this is when people pass away. We have to understand the wholeness of it all. That's part of this, right? And instead of being fearful, we have to understand that we're never really gone. We're just on another plane, right? We may not see that person, but we also know that, that there's a divine plan. And we never really go away. So that's the healing, for that. All right, now it's time to take our break again. Thank you so much. This is Morning Mindfulness. And let's see, I think we're at a break now. So we'll see you back in a few moments.
Great day. It's your girl Asada here to introduce a new female solution show called Asada Says. That's right. Every month we're going to talk about everything I am, from cryptocurrency and financial security to good health and parenting strategies. Come on and talk with me every Tuesday morning from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. And let's do that thing the way Asada says it should be done. See you then. Peace, right here on the Female Solution.
The earth is in the process of transformation. A separation, such as when a cell divides. Half will remain in the third dimension, the old earth, where there is conflict and violence. The other half will ascend to the fifth dimension, the new earth, where no negativity can exist. All across the world, there are internet content creators that are sharing new information to raise your consciousness and prepare you to ascend to the new earth. Join me, Naima Latif, every Wednesday morning, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Central Time, and we will introduce to you these voices of enlightenment.
Welcome to Master Force with Mushim Suit. Join us each week on Thursdays at 7 a.m. Central, live on Facebook and YouTube on the Female Solution page, as we dive into powerful topics designed to assist you in mastering your life force. Our conversations feature a diverse lineup of experts, all dedicated to your growth. Tune in weekly to discover new ways to elevate your spirit and raise your vibration. And remember, we are ascending.
All right. Welcome back to Monday Morning Mindfulness. I'm April Gary, and I'm guest starring for Zelda Robinson, who will be back next week. Our topic for today is the 7 chakras, the energy centers of the bodies, and I'm April Gary. We're talking now about the chakras, and we just covered the heart chakra. And now that takes us to the next chakra, which is our throat chakra. What's the theme of the throat chakra? The theme is compassion, forgiveness, empathy, and there's spiritual lessons when it comes to the throat chakra as well, right? That is speaking our truth with courage, right? And with patience, right? And still remaining faithful to our consciousness and what we know as being right. That's the important thing here. What do we need to do, with our throat chakra? What are the issues? What are our shadows with that? What work do we need to do on our throat chakra, right? Our shadows to transform are like that silence, the suppression, right? In fear of speaking. When we fear, speaking, that suppression, it shows up in our bodies in different ways. It can make us sick, right? We could have thyroid issues with that. There's a whole series of things, right, that can manifest itself when our throat chakra have issues. And there's also, again, foods and crystals that we can do to help those chakras as well. Let's take a look at that. We're talking about, again, the throat chakra, and this is communication, truth, our authenticity. That's the core life thing for that. And our balanced behaviors include honesty, clear communications, being a good listener, and just being authentic. That's important if we're talking about having a clear and well-functioning throat chakra or energy center here in our throat. What happens when it's imbalanced? What does that look like? There again, that's that fear of speaking. I don't want to speak up. I don't want to say nothing. I like to stay in the background, I don't like saying too much of anything, Or maybe you feel like your words are not important. Perhaps you've been taught, don't say anything, be quiet. It's not your place. Maybe you're fearful of speaking, right? Another way it shows up is that gossip, just talking. It turns into gossip. You may not have intended it to be that way, but you just continue talking, it turns into that. And then that causes issue with yourself and also with other people when we do that. Dishonesty is another thing when we're talking about the throat chakra, or just excessive talking, just chatter. Sometimes you're nervous and you just keep talking, right? So there's that balance between there, talking or talking too much, right? And the inability to express your feelings, that's another piece. So I'm feeling this way, but I just don't know what to say. I can't put the words together. I'm not sure what to do about it, So it doesn't come out. You don't start to heal or even identify what those issues are. This is the throat chakra we're talking about. One of the 7 seals, okay? So part of that, limiting attitudes and your beliefs, you may say things like, my voice don't matter. What I say, it's not a big deal, Or nobody listens to me, Or speaking this truth can be dangerous. Don't speak at all. And of course, you need to be discerning about what you say, but speaking truth is important, you know, in a balanced way. Physical effects. When the throat chakra has issues, you're going to have issues in, of course, your thyroid, because your thyroid's right here in your throat. So you may have thyroid problems. Take a look then at your behaviors, okay? Your jaw, your neck area, your mouth, vocal cords, all this is tied together. Tension in your neck and jaw is associated with that because you're not speaking or speaking up, or you're going to the extreme. You're doing too much, right? We got to find that middle ground when it comes to our throat chakra. And that's a big deal, especially for women, finding our voice, right? In a balanced way, okay? Now we've got, of course, our foods for the throat chakra. And what are those foods? What are the crystals and the herbs for, the throat chakra? Well, the color is blue. Color is blue. And so the foods are blueberries, we're talking about blackberries, elderberries, plums, herbal teas. Coconut water is good for that throat as well. So it sounds like a good smoothie, right? Having a good smoothie there, or just eating those fresh berries, eating with intent to heal our bodies. What about the crystals? Aquamarine, good crystal to wear, either on your arm, on your body, or put it in your pocket, right? You can also, when you bathe, have one big enough and put it in the water. That energy can circulate in the bath water as well. You got blue lace agate. Solidite is good. What about turquoise? That's a good one for the throat chakra. You have amazonite, and then lapis lazuli is good for that as well. What kind of teas do you want to drink? You've got sage, peppermint, eucalyptus, you got marshmallow root, licorice root, thyme, and hyssop tea. Now we're healing. We're drinking tea with intent, healing ourselves, becoming closer to our divine selves, becoming closer to our purpose in life. So that's another thing that we can work on. And as we all have all this stuff we've got. Being in society today, no one is um, um, immune, right, from having this work to do on ourselves. So that's the heart chakra. And then there's some affirmations and spiritual lessons that we can learn from this too, from this throat chakra. Spiritual lesson for the throat chakra is to speak your truth with courage and patience while remaining faithful to your conscience. Okay? Doing the right thing, saying the right thing at the right time and in the right way, right? So we can work on that immediately. This is even therapeutic. This is very therapeutic for us as well, right? So, what's shadow now? What shadow part of us are we transforming? We transforming silence, right, into speaking. That whole silent suppression, we're changing that. And then also the fear of speaking. That's our shadow. We're transforming that. So this is good work for us, right? And we can do it today, right now. We don't have to wait, right? And it could accompany other things that we do, like our meditation, you know, and talking to people, right? Talking to community, sharing our stories is very important for us to heal. If we're talking about a people, us healing as a people, this is the work. It's the inner work, right? And we could talk about stuff and do other things that are outside of us, but it's going to start right inside of us, really, if you're going to get to the core of change, right? You have to look in the mirror and work on yourself, right? All right, so we've got that throat chakra that takes us next to our third eye. That's right between our eyebrows, right? Right between the eyebrows, we got that core chakra, and then with that, what color are we talking about here? Throat chakra is indigo. Indigo. All right. What body area are we talking about? That's your brain, your eyes, your pineal gland. Now, some of the issues with that pineal gland, because that's your intuition, along with your chakra system. Quite often it is calcified. It's supposed to vibrate, right? So Your pineal gland is supposed to do the little vibration. And because of our intake of fluoride, aluminum in our bodies, it doesn't do what it's supposed to do. So we're not picking up those messages from the spirit world. We're not hearing our ancestors speak to us because our pineal gland is calcified. See, that pineal gland and crown chakra, that's the connection to the spirit world or the cosmos, right? All right, so we got to decalcify our pineal gland. How do we do that? Well, colloidal gold is really good for that. Colloidal gold is really good. It's one of those things that the three wise men brought to Jesus, right? Colloidal gold. Now, they said gold, frankincense, and myrrh, but of course, a baby didn't need gold per se. Frankincense and myrrh as well is good for your chakras, your third eye, and your crown. So to open up those chakras so that you can hear the voice of God and your intuition kicks in better, your prophetic abilities, this is some of the main things that you can do, right? Is decalcify it. Let's look even a little closer there, right? Let's take a look now at some of the spiritual themes and shadows to work on for that third eye. So the third eye has to do with um, seeing beyond appearances, right? And cultivating spiritual discernment. It's those voices that you hear, right? Talking to you, saying, go left, go right, or I shouldn't do this or I shouldn't do that. This is your third eye, right? This is where the spirit speaks. That's that space within your brain where that part happens, okay? Third eye. And so some of the shadows with that is illusions and confusion, even spiritual pride to where we think, I got it, I'm so connected, you know, but actually we may not be. We may have to be working on that. We have to leave it open so that the Spirit of God can speak to us, so that we're open to whatever changes we need to make so that we can grow spiritually. Okay. So we have that work to do for the third eye as well. Okay, we've got the colors for that. We've got foods for it as well. Purple grapes, blackberries, blueberries, eggplant crystals are amethyst, labradorite, fluorite, lowlight, right, mugwort, and all that good stuff. And then we have the crown. So, all right. So it looks like it's time, right, I think we're having a break again now, right? So we're going to have a break. Thank you so much. This is the Morning Mindfulness Show. And this is Zelda's show. And um, Monday Morning Mindfulness on the Female Solution. Yes, the Female Solution. Monday Morning Mindfulness. I'm April Gary. I'm sitting in for Zelda Robinson today. And I'm thankful for the opportunity to be here. And I hope you got something from this. Work on your chakras and your seventh chakra as well, which is your crown. Okay. And I believe now that we're going to even take a break. So let me roll it over to you. All right, so I see now we've got a Dr. Willie Wilson announced his candidacy for mayor of Chicago today. There's an address there for you if you take a look at that, 2948 West Madison, Chicago, between 6 and 8 p.m. Again, Dr. Willie Wilson is announcing his candidacy for mayor of Chicago today. So you can go down and use that address to participate in that. So again, Monday Morning Mindfulness, this is a female solution, and I'm taking my cues from my girls here on the next step. Yes. Okay. So let's see. We've got 9:01 now, and I'll continue if I'm allowed to do so. All right. So we've got that seventh chakra. Let's talk about that seventh chakra really quick. Crown chakra, colors are violet, white, and gold. Top of your head. Where are the foods? Some people fast for this, but others do herbal infusions. Okay. So we have that as well. I'm also seeing that sign again up. All right. And then lastly, crystals, and there's herbs as well. AprilGaryMedia.com is where you can find me if you're interested in knowing more about this. AprilGaryMedia.com. AprilGaryMedia.com. Knowing your chakras is so important, and we're going to cover that last chakra, okay? So thank you so much for that. We've got issues with that third chakra, grounding and stability, foundation, right? And separation and spiritual isolation is what happens when your crown chakra is not working well. We got to fix that. we've got to be connected to our spirit guides, our ancestors, and the voice of God. So this stuff here that's going on with the head is so important, right? We've got to do those things that will help bring us closer to our healing. We've got different kind of crystals we can use. Here's the herbs: frankincense, myrrh, lavender, holy basil, sage. You've got blue lotus. Those things are helpful, right? What's the color for that, right? We're talking about violet and even white and gold. Those things are helpful as well to wear. So you may want to wrap your head in white. That's a good thing for that. Now, there are some spiritual lessons for that as well. Grounding, stability, foundation, that's the theme. And just understanding the reverence, just resting in the reverence of the all, right? Of the cosmos, that stillness, trusting beyond words, having faith, that thing, right? Spiritual separation and isolation, that's going to be the shadows to transform. And we're all on this journey to try to understand why we're here. What is our divine purpose? What is the meaning of life, right? And how do we change that exactly, right? More than just words. How do we actually physically do that? I've just given you some ways to do that. The 7 chakras or the 7 seals, right, that you can use. There's crystal stones, there's attitudes and behaviors that we can change so that we can be the best people that we can be, so that we can change ourselves and we can change the world, okay? Again, this is Monday morning mindfulness, right, on the Female Solution. I thank you so much for your time. Zelda will be back with us next week, all right? And I'm looking forward to her meditations, and I appreciate your time this morning here. I'm April Gary with the Spiritually Gifted Community, aprilgarymedia.com. aprilgarymedia.com. You can reach me there and join our Sunday calls or Wednesday Zoom calls. And so I'll go ahead and pass the mic back to Monday Morning Mindfulness. Peace and blessings.
We've come to the end of our show today. If you missed any broadcasts, go to our website for the audio and video archives at www.thefemalesolution.com. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to thank all of you who participated in today's discussions. And to our global family joining us from all around the world, we say thank you. To our family in China, xie xie. India, dhanyavad. Japan, arigato. Korea, kamsamnida. Russia, spasiba. Germany, danke. Poland, dziękuję. France, merci. Spain, gracias. Italy, grazie. Egypt, shukran. Ghana, madasi. Nigeria, eshe. South Africa, ngiyabonga. Senegal, jaref. Kenya, asante. Israel, toda. Pakistan, shukriya. Afghanistan, tashakur. Saudi Arabia and Palestine, shukran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Thank you, and may peace be upon you and the mercy of God and God's blessings.